Good morning, everybody. It's David Becker with BeckerArt, and we're here in Ocala, Florida, and we're in a really cheap hotel. So, they have Wi-Fi, so that's good, and I think it's good enough to do the Sunday demo with David. And hey, Gigi, morning, Barbara, the Yorkie mom. Good morning from San Bernardino. Uh, 36 degree. Actually, I was going to go outside, but there was a storm yesterday. They said they were gonna have a storm, and there was. It just actually stopped. You would have heard it because it was thunder and lightning, and a lot of wind this morning. And I looked out, and actually water came out underneath my hotel because this is a motel, a budget motel, so it's all good. And here I'm going to show you. We're going to be doing this scene, and this scene is I'm thinking from Laguna Beach, and I've got to do a postcard for them. I donated a postcard to them, and so I found this image and I put this lady into it. And I know it's different from what I had shown last night on thing, but let me just show you. I did these. I Here are the. This is the way it was in the beginning on the right. That's the picture the way it was. And I put the lady into the scene. The scene was just a scene that I found on pexels.com, and I put a lady into it. And but then I was like, I made it black and white, and I thought it was kind of plain, and I wanted more sun in it. So I'm not going to make it quite as dark, the cloud on the left here, but I do want it to be a little bit of a cloudy thing compared to what you have on the right. I just felt it was kind of lacking. And the lady's head is gonna be dark, but that little bit of dark that's right on her head, I can't put that because that's tangent to her head. And so I'm gonna make that really light, kind of like what's on the left. I'm gonna try to make a little bit of nice clouds in there. And so Laguna Beach is your old stomping grounds. Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I'm trying to get to do their invitational. They have the invitational Laguna Beach plein air. They do a thing in the fall, and I would love to paint there one day. And so I've been doing a lot of paintings, and I just entered their plein air painting thing. So here we go. So let's just get rid of these because we are going to paint a cloud in there and use some of the colors that I think the blue. And as you notice, this is 5 by 7. See my hand? This is a very small piece, but I put two different cameras on it, and I got a different camera on my palette. And so in a hotel room, can you imagine that? So where's my? Oh, here we go. All right, so we're gonna start with the sky because we're gonna start with our lights. But since I'm not gonna make quite as dark the blue here. The sky or the cloud is not gonna be quite as dark blue as that. But I do want to use some, push that back. But I like the sun being right there, where in the other picture there was no sun in it, and I kind of want to put that into this area. And it is 5 by 7, so this is my half-inch brush, which looks kind of big, right? But it's like I said, it's half inch. This is my hand, and so it's a very small painting, and so I'll be using smaller things, smaller brushes. I'm just going to wet the whole area. Now I am working that board again, which I should have used paper, but oh well, because I know this board kind of. Let's see, can I go over this? Yeah, because this is gonna be darker, so I can just go over the whole thing here. I'm just gonna go down to the horizon line. And I'm first going to go with my yellows because I'm going to put the sun in there. And I'm also, like I said, I'm going to be using gouache. Actually, not gouache. Just going to be using some white and see how this gets dots. Darn it. I knew it was going to happen. This board gets dots for some reason. I have no idea why. I must have gotten a bad batch a long time ago and I bought a lot of it. And so we're just going to kind of go through the sky. Yellow to a violet or to a blue to a violet, and inside the clouds here, man, it's like got acne coming up. I can just look at how you can see all that little lines in or little dots in there. They go away, but it's just very aggravating when you're sitting there painting and they're there. And so here I'm gonna put like the underparts of the clouds. It is wet, but it's soaking in too much is what's happening. it must be a bad batch of paper. And of course, I can't change that now. And so I put a little lavender before I go with the blue, because blue and orange will make green. And I don't really want green in the sky. So this is a little bit of lavender. And as I put my lavender in, I will also put some light blue into it also. I don't want to make it quite as dark as the image. It's going to dry a lot lighter, but it's like it's not floating because it's soaked into the paper and give me those little dots, so that's not a good thing, but oh well. Sit over here a little bit. So see those little dots? Boy, that's just they kind of go away. So that's one good thing about it, I guess. And let's put a little bit of the yellow orange up there. Very light orange, but I put a little white in my yellow just so that it's not so vibrant. I'm just going to put that up there because this part of the cloud is shining. You're seeing some of the lights, and this will make this all yellow. Man, it's just soaked right in. Look at that. Now, the problem was that I shouldn't have did this right here because I want to put blue there and it'll turn it green. I do want to make some nice, kind of a brighter blue up there, composed blue. This is my plein air palette, so not my normal studio palette, but let's put a little bit of blue in that sky. And though I'm working smaller, I work the same way. I don't change that. I just use smaller brushes, right? And when you're doing bigger paintings, you got to use bigger brushes. And this is gonna be, I am gonna try to go wash with it, so I will be going thick with it later on with the paint, and so that's fine. You know, I want to do this with a kind of a gouache kind of look, so I may put some heavy duty paint on there. And as it goes down, see how light that got? Remember I said it was dark, and I don't want it quite as dark. This is drying very quickly though, unfortunately, because it's soaking into the paper. I'm not getting exactly the shapes that is in the photo, but that's okay. You know, we can go with other shapes. And here again, this is wet, so I'm just going to put some of the darker color. That's not dark enough. I mean, it's not gray enough. So I'm going to use more lavender with the orange will gray up a little bit. And I should use the brilliant orange, not the yellow orange, because the brilliant orange makes it too green. So a little bit of blue in it. Let's go with violet. The reason I'm doing this postcard size is because I'm going to donate it to them, and then they use it for their invitational, I guess, or and you can buy it. So you'll be able to buy this painting once I get it done on their website, Laguna Beach, LPAPA, as they call themselves, LPAPA. So go here. The name of the yellow. Oh, I have that's lemon yellow, and this yellow over here is permanent yellow light from Holbein, and that is so what is that? I don't even know. I have no idea what this one is. It's a little darker yellow. That's maybe there's a lot of green in there. I have no idea what light that is. That may be yeah, you know what? I have no idea what that yellow is. That yellow is permanent yellow light, and that's what I'm using. See all the dots that you see in here? That's because it's like it's broke down. It breaks down the sizing, and so what happens? It goes into the paper. It doesn't sit on top, and you can deal with it when you're, you when you know it's happening, but it's just not fun to deal with. It's a little bit too blue, a little bit more violet. It also stops it from floating, the pigment from floating, which is what that's my thing. I love when my pigment floats. Oops. Go more. This is brilliant orange. This is a brilliant orange right here. I'm going to put that back in underneath the bottom here. And since I'm going to be going with gouache, I'm going to be putting some thicker gouache in there so I can still blend it into the wash and give it more like an oil painting kind of feel for the piece. And I'm just going to use watercolor. Watercolor is gouache when it's used thick and used white, and because it's opaque then, right? If I'm using it really thick, I don't have my actual gouache set with me right here in the hotel room. I do have some in the car, but I didn't want to go out there. It was really rainy. It was thunderstorming. Hey, Mary Beth. Hey, Sherry. Hey, Patty. Yeah, I'm right off of 75 in a motel, in a cheesy motel, but it was very cheap. So let's see, how's that looking? It's okay, but now I'm gonna get wet this a little bit, get a little bit more orange clouds in there. Now I don't just use orange, I use orange and a little bit of the lavender because I can gray it down a little bit. Always remember to use the red orange, which is brilliant orange, not the permanent yellow orange that has yellow in it. That is ugly right there. Oh boy. So if you don't like something, take it out right away. So let's get a little bit more orange in that. And it's really wet, so, and that's what holds your paper together is the sizing. And so you can tell it just bleeds more. And so it's not going to be as nice for when it comes to the washes. But when I put the opaque on top of it, it'll be absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Down here, there's some little bit of land way back there. And I'm going to right away see these dots? And they're even overemphasized because this is 5 by 7, this feet. That's how come it looks so big, those dots. It won't look bad once it's dry. It'll be fine. So now let's get a little bit of lavender and white to get this way back here. Don't forget to ask questions, guys. Hey, Maria. Hey. So let's see. That's water. And so I'm going to start it's going to be different from my photo because back here, I got to make it more violety. But here I've got the sun is right there, and so I'm gonna have a reflection through there. So it's gonna be a little bit different from the photo because I have to make it different because I changed the lighting on it. Let me just open this up real quick. I gotta see what's in the background. So see how there's one, two, three levels there. And so I just want to make sure I can see all those levels. So 1, 2, this level goes out into the ocean a little bit. This one I'm going to make really light because I don't want our head to conflict with that one. So that means I got to make this one lighter too. So I'm just going to pull out a little bit of the paint. And then I'm going to go with the orange again if the sun's going to be right there, I'm going to put some white there. I'm just going to go like this and let the water be light back here. And as the sun's right there, I'm going to keep a lot of this white right down the middle so it's reflecting in there. I'm going to make my water a little bit more calm. And let me put this orange right over her head because I don't want this to look really dark right there because otherwise it looks like there's a rectangle shape right there and it looks tangent then. And then go from there to a violety blue, because this blue will shine into the water down here. So it goes from that to lavender. Not that dark. But when you do this small, it's amazing how one brushstroke can cover a whole area. In like one brushstroke, you can cover the whole front. I do like working this small. I remember last year I did the thing also on the balcony. I didn't film it though. I worked on a balcony in St. Augustine, which I'm going next week. And so this year I did it here in Ocala. And this afternoon I have a paint party for 30 people. So we're gonna be having fun with acrylic, which is I think hopefully gonna be my last one I ever do. I'm not really into the acrylic anymore and the paint parties, so I was thinking I wonder if I can do a paint party more in with watercolor. That'd be kind of fun, maybe. Maybe, I'm not sure if the average person can do watercolor. I'll have to ask Wanda. Wanda is the owner of the village's workshops, art workshops. Let's put a little bit of this orange in here. These are still my lights. I'm kind of working my light area, really. It's still my light. And then I'm putting all the little bit of light on the parts that are going to be light. So if you look at my value study, let's see again, my value study for this one is look at how dark everything is in the bottom. That it's not going to be black, but it is going to be darker than everything. So all this area on the left and the bottom will be dark. Then we have the whole side here going to be dark. Okay, the right side is pretty much the dark area. Let's see, is that dark? This goes dark here. I'm not working my darks yet because they're wet for one. I don't want to go in there with my darks yet. I just want to get the pattern here, a little bit of pat. Oh, spattering on this. I'll spatter the whole thing with one spatter. And let's see, let's go with our blue, our light blue with a little violet for the water down here. And it's really churned up. And so, but I'm going to make it less churned up than it actually is. And so I'm just going to go in here, get the water, keeping this a little bit lighter right there. And I can also, like I said, I can come back with white later on. And then this right here is going to be where the edge of the water is. And wait until you get my nice darks in here. This is going to look great. And the lady is silhouetted with a dark kind of, but I still want to get like the sheer. She's got this. I put a sheer, I don't know, um, not dress on her. She's like a scarf, but a really long scarf. And so put a little orange. And then we're gonna give her dark hair, but we gotta get the lights first. And of course, her hair is gonna be what color? You know. So make that nice and red on the outer edge. She's gonna have dark hair, again, like silhouetted, but you gotta get the outer edge because there's some parts shining. So get the outer edge nice and light. Same thing with this up here. I'm getting my lights, and so on the edge of this building, there's a little bit of light. And so I'll put that on there now, and then when I put it dark on there, I go right to it. And then the edge of the beach here, we're going to get a nice color of sand, and I use Jaune #2 with a little bit of this lavender. This will be a nice color right here. And you can put over the rocks because they are going to be darker, so don't be afraid of going over some of this stuff. And it'll be on the side of the rock too, right? It'll shine on the side of the rock. Boulders, I should say. I wouldn't mind painting this on the spot this year in the fall if this is actually Laguna Beach. I typed in Laguna Beach and this is what it came up with. So hopefully this is actually there. I'm gonna do some little detail here of light. That's a very far distance. I'm gonna be using a lot of small brushes on this one. All right, I think it's time for flesh tone. I know this is like I didn't get my big mediums yet, but I need to just let that dry a little bit or soak into the paper, which is what it's doing. Back here, like the scarf or the shawl, it's like a long shawl is like kind of warm, like it's shining through, the sun's shining through. Let's get her flesh tone, which will be light first, and I'll do the dark parts later. Get her hand. I had to put a different camera on this, otherwise you wouldn't be able to see this. You know, a little bit. It's a little bit bigger. You can see what I'm doing. So I put two cameras on today. Three cameras. There's actually three cameras working today. And this will all be nice and dark. All right, let's go to our middle tones. Middle tones and darks is the whole foreground here. And let's go with a purple. See if I can find my purple. I'm using a different palette now, so what's this one? That's dark blue. Thought this was purple. No, that's dark blue too. This is dark blue. This purple. Okay, purple's on this side. Mix a little bit of the dark blue into the purple. A little bit of orange. Let's get a little more blue in there. So that is very dark, right? But it won't be as dark as that. So I'm letting it float. I'm using the pigment and water at the same time, so I'm getting a nice look of, it'll be a nice look of color. This will be reflection. It looks really dark, but it's going to dry a lot lighter than that. And this is a rack. The sun's right here, so I'm going to keep that light right there. Her legs are the darkest, so right there is kind of the blue of the sky, because there's water right here reflecting. Put a little bit of that up here. Since you added the girl, any tips about making her size? Um, the one thing you want to do is just make sure her eye line is close to the horizon line, if that's with the person who's taking the shot. So it doesn't matter how far down you go. That'll determine, you know, how far away she is. But the size is always like her eye should be close to the horizon line. There's a horizon line right there. So just close to it. Doesn't have to be right on it, because the photographer could be bigger, taller, and so she'd be up higher. He would be up higher when he's taking the shot. So just kind of keep their like, unless it's like if the person's right here, way back there, then it's still close, you know, horizon line. So the heads always stay close to horizon line, unless he's standing on top of this rock, and then it'd be a little bit higher. So it's just, I always generalize, and so generalize it that the eyes are close to the horizon line, and then go down as far as you want. That's a simple way of putting a person into your scene. Unless the photographer is way up high and looking down, then it's a little bit different story. But if the photographer is taking it straight at them and they're about the same size, he would be right on the horizon line, the eyes. Hope that helps. All right, let's go up here and get the greenery. some greenery up here, and since I was testing my thing, I automatically got a kind of a greenish color up here. And so that's a nice dark, but you definitely need some orange in that green so that it reflects the sun. You know, the sun is really bright on the front here. So you're gonna put definitely orange into the green. I just do that while it's wet and it just floats automatically into it. And I drew this up last night, freehanded, and so I changed a few things a little bit. And you know, when you're freehanding, that's the nice thing about it. You can just kind of do what you want, make things bigger, smaller, depending on what you want. And I probably should have done the at first. That's okay because it's still wet a little bit. When it soaks in like this, it also takes longer to dry. The board takes longer to dry when it's like the sizing's off. And there's little gray for shadows on the rock. Laguna Beach Main Street is full of sidewalk cafes and has a beach. I would have my coffee and walk through the art galleries. Wyland's art studio is there too. It's flattered by the main drag. Huh, cool. But definitely, I've watched them do the plein air event, and it just looks amazing. Some of the shots they paint. Looks like it goes really up really high and it goes really low, and so it's pretty cool. Let's see. That's really dark. That's really dark. I'm gonna use my smaller brush because that's starting to get a little bit too big. When I get to my small, this is number 6, number eight round. So it's a lot smaller. I'm gonna make a gray with my lavender. Lavender and orange make a great gray. And I'm gonna use that over here. Taking it straight down. And once it's wet, I add other colors into that gray. I don't just use that one gray color. I let that bleed into there, and then I'll put maybe a little bit of warmth down here. And then I can also go cool with it. I can take a little bit dark coolness to it too. It's all floating in there, and so I can just go in. This is a bunch of rocks on here, and so I can put that in later with the darks when it's dry and do hard edge darks down there. So I'm sorry about the lighting not being the greatest here for this thing, but I've only got these 2 lamps in front of me. I usually bring a lamp with me, but too many things to bring this time. Totally forgot. All right, now there's a bunch of boulders. Let's go into boulders and we can change them to make all kinds of different boulder colors. So this is, okay, that's the bottom of that. This should be the water. So I made that dark when it shouldn't have been dark. That should have been water. Oh well, we're going to be changing a few things off about this beach. We're going to be putting this right here. And I'm going to be using gouache, so I can just go over that with the color. Looks like this is what goes into here. Okay. I'm not used to working this small, but I actually enjoy working this small sometimes. Like last year, I remember doing the same type of scene, and but it was a Grand Marais with a lady with a dress, and it was small, but I worked on a balcony. I worked about an hour or two, and it's so much fun. So sometimes do things small. It's fun. It's the same as you're doing the big. It's just that you're using smaller brushes, and it's a lot faster to be able to wreck a whole area by just putting in too much paint or let's put it really dark right here. There's a big boulder right here. Let's do the outer edge a little bit warmer. I never leave it just like really thick at first. At first, even though I could, even if I were doing this in gouache, I would still do all these wet washes first because gouache is the same as watercolor. It's just that it covers better. So you can use it like watercolor and make it really thin and wet and let it float. You can still make it watercolor like. How much time do I have here? Half an hour. All right. Nice and dark there. A couple of little rocks right here. See, I shouldn't have done this with the windows. It was too wet. Wait till it dries to do detail. All right, a couple more little rocks. Show the reflection in here, like it's wet. I guess I could do the tower roof. I can do that. Is it? Let's see if it's dry enough. Not really, but I'm using a lot of paint, so boy, this is going to take forever to dry because it rained out there, so it's really damp in here. There should be a little bit of blue in here, like it's looking through. All right, I'm gonna start working her now because everything is wet, and so until it's dry, I can't really get some things working the way I want them to. So let's just see if this will. A few little reflections here. Too dark. Hey, Maura. Hey, Mike. Do a short about my setup. Yeah, I can do that actually. And I'm probably gonna do a little video on the beach this next weekend. Next weekend, I'm gonna be on Delano Beach, and I'll be probably doing my outside. I'll be doing a plein air, probably hopefully next week. Hair dryer, yes, but this is too cheap a hotel. They don't have a hair dryer here. A motel. And I think mine's in the car. Good idea though. Hair dryer would be good here now. Yeah, this is not the. This is probably a 1 star or 2 star hotel, motel. Okay. All right, let's do her now. Let's get her going here. Let's get her hair nice and dark. Let's go from the top to the bottom of her. And I do need to use a small brush because now this is really small. This is really detailed, little bit. But I noticed that on the outer edge is a nice light lit up her hair, so we'll definitely light it up too. Because around her shoulder comes down. Orange right here. All right, there's her hair, nice and dark. Her top I know is she has white on, but I'm gonna make it dark because I just feel that we have too much light down here. She has to be dark. So let's take some pink, red, orange. You gotta make her flesh tone a little bit darker. I think she's in shadow. It's so small too that I really, it's you gotta generalize the big shapes. Or use a really, really, really small brush. I think I'm gonna give her a aqua top. A little aqua, and then her shawl would be orange, kind of, but in shadow will be dark, will be darker. So just use colors that you have on your palette. A lot of times, if you don't know exactly the color you want to use at a certain point, use the darks that you've been already using. It's just that simple, because it'll match everything you've been doing. So it's fine to do it that way. And the sun will be really, it's really strong and it makes things warm, right? So the edge would be warm, but inside, and I'm doing her legs, but inside that, where the shadow is, then you can darken it. Make her leg, I'm gonna make her leg really bright right here. And the outer edge, and make it really bright. Her cheek really red. Like it's shining underneath here, shining right through. And if you have a photograph or if you're working real life, you can take and look at the people, look at what's happening when you're there. That's the best thing about being on the spot, being plein air. And even if you took a picture of it, take a photo or memorize it. Now this is going to be reflection then, reflected into the sand. Get the front of her leg a little bit brighter. Back of her leg back here could be a little bit darker. And that can go into the scarf, a little bit dark underneath there. Shawl, scarf, I'm not sure what they call those. Her flesh tone is jaune number 2, yes. With a little bit of orange now added orange to it. And I will be using it thick. Let's see, I'm using it thick now, and so it'll cover over. And that's the gouache technique, where you use it thick. And you can put it on the side of the rocks, so you can just see how I'm just making it thick. And it's definitely more opaque then. It's more like you're doing oil painting then, because I'm putting it on super, super thick. A little of the colors showing through the shawl, and then take the jaune number 2. I'm just going to put a little line over it. And boy, this cloud got really light, and look at how much dots are in that. So I'm going to take my 1/4 inch brush and I'm going to make it thick so that we have some thickness to it, to the paint. And so I have to blend it myself now with thicker paints. And I wisp it. I wisp it over it, and it's going to make it soft. And so this is now is opaque. This is basically opaque. It's not floating pigment. I'm taking thick amounts of paint and I'm rubbing it into the paper because of the fact that it's bad paper for one. That's one of the biggest reasons I'm doing it. Normally you get a nice wash already, but you're gonna see it'll look fine. It'll be soft edged. And now you're thinking to yourself, well, should you be using watercolor that way? Well, that's what gouache is. It does has a different, it's more finely ground, but gouache is opaque watercolor. So this is a Jean number 2. It has white in it, so it's kind of like a gouache. Well, it is gouache. It's opaque watercolor. That's all it is. The difference between watercolor, transparent watercolor, and opaque watercolor is gouache and transparent watercolor. They're both watercolor. And so you can use white. Get yourself 2 things of white. I need to do 2 things of white because you're mixing white and a pure white. And always have a tube of white with you because the white tends to dry, even with Holbein, tends to dry more than like the other colors do. Because Holbein usually stays really wet, but even their white gets a little bit harder. So I'm making this a little bit different, this area, because of I don't want the head to be over, the dark over the head, or pointing right to the head of the lady. It's a nice dark. There's nothing wrong with using gouache in a watercolor and making it hard-edged and thick. It's just that you can't submit to certain watercolor societies because they don't allow that. But that you do, then you don't do that when you're entering those kind of competitions. But for normal, like here, I'm using gouache because I can feel like make it look really cool. So I get the ability to do like a watercolor and an acrylic or a oil. I brought my own towel this time too, so the towel on my board here is my own, so I didn't use the hotel. Let's do a little bit of light through here. Let's get a little bit of orange in there. So I'm using things a little thicker now. I'm not letting them float as much. I'm just kind of thickening them up, rubbing them into the paper. This is a little bit of the. I am going to put some white on parts 2 to make it shine like it's right down the middle here. Now I'm going to have to really, I don't have a tube of white with me because I have to really get this one side. I'm going to have to clean that part out. Take some paper towel here. I still have to do more of the sky. The sky looks horrible, that cloud. It looks so. And so what I do, put blue back into that. What am I am nuts? What's going on here? See, I'm wisping it. I'm rubbing it into the board. It's different than doing watercolor wet in the wet. This is like thick, and so I gotta blend it Where you know me, when it comes to blending watercolor that's in the water, you just let the water blend it for you. But something like this, I have to blend it then. Whoops. Let's take a little white and yellow. Shown. So this is where I have to blend then. I do have to blend when I'm doing it this way. But look at how I'm getting rid of all those little dots. And it's kind of making a nice looking cloud too, right? And I'll bring some more clouds down this way. I'm picking up the texture of the paper too. And if you're a traditional watercolorist, you would not do this. This is definitely not transparent watercolor. But you know, it's not nobody's gonna arrest you to do this. We always make fun, you know, because my teachers would never have doing this. The sound has coming in and out for a few minutes now. Hmm. Hello, testing. It could be that the because of how long it's been. All right, now the final thing here will be to. I've still got 50 minutes, so just details, super fine details. I'm gonna take. Gosh, I don't really have a. I wish I had pure white. Darn it. I'm gonna have to do this afterwards. Is put the white in, I think, for the sun because I don't think I have a pure white here. This is all. Let me see. I'm trying to get a little bit of white out of here. Pure white. And what you can also do is run a little bit of light along this. See, that's not totally white. That's like a yellow white. I mean, a purple white, lavender white. I guess what I'll have to do. Yeah, get yourself a tube of white and carry with you always because the tube of white, you can put it on fresh, and having it fresh is really nice to get some really fresh, like on some of this waves and stuff. And especially right here where the sun is coming straight down here. It's going to reflect real nicely on the rocks and everything and on her. Little dots is enough. You don't need to put like a whole lot in there. Just a few dots on the edges really makes it look shiny, right? Because when things are wet, they shine off the sun, so that makes it reflective. And put a little bit on the side of here. Let the water hit off the rocks, and you're gonna get little dots. And I'll have to do this tomorrow when I get to the classroom. I have to redo this a few things on it just to get it really perfect for the auction. This will be up for auction. Go to Laguna Beach Plein Air. And I think they all start at 50 bucks or something like that. I think. Don't quote me on that. I think they all start for 50 bucks. And I'll do a little bit around the cloud. Yeah, the cloud is I don't want to get too detailed because I don't want it to become like this too much. So what am I doing? Making even more. But I will put white right along here when I get white paint because that's not white, right? That's like a lavender, and so I can't really get a white right now. And I'll soften it up a little bit. I'll take a brush and I'll soften these parts up a little bit. That's the nice thing about gouache. You can rub it, and it becomes nice and soft edged too. Let's get some dark windows in there. I'm not sure which one is black here. One of these is black. I think that's it. Yep, this is black right here. Yes, I do have black in my palette. And so now it's dry. Now I can get the nice little lines, the windows here. Give her some more red here. Flying. Because it's kind of like maybe a little windy here, so. Boy, you make one little mark, it really affects the area because it's so small. Making some of the rocks on this edges warmer. I'm gonna make a little more texture over here on these rocks over here. Just gonna take some dirty brushwork, just hit it like a nervous twitch, do a nervous twitch. Yep, another nervous twitch gives you a lot of little texture. Let's bring this down into the sea a little bit. Little rocks. I think I'm getting pretty close. This is not right. That make that dark. I gotta make that light. Maybe a little light over that. There is a little tree up there, but I don't know if I should put that in there. That seems like, well, let's put a little bit of tree here. There's like a little tree up here. Get this side a little orange on the side of the tower. And this is where I'll go in later, and I'm gonna go really close up on the image to see if there's something that I missed or. But it's not bad. A little bit different. Get her hair a little bit coming in front of. And you can blur parts too. Like if there's parts that you don't want to see too much, you can blur little things here and there by just letting it be soft edged, like photographers do. They blur areas. I have to clean up my room here because I think checkout's at 11. So it's actually 9, almost 9:26, 9:25. All right, guys, I think I'm gonna stop there. And I will go in when I'm in the studio. And actually, Watercolor Live is happening in this week, and so on Tuesday at 11:30, if you're on Watercolor Live, I will be doing a little video, and it is pre-recorded already, but I will be there answering questions. So if you're going to be on Watercolor Live, I'll see you on Tuesday, and I'll probably post a couple things from the classroom too. Let me get this one. All right, you see anything else here? I think I'm gonna leave it at that. All right, I think I'm gonna leave it at that. So, a little bit different colors than what's there, and I changed the sky a little bit, and this will probably have to be a little bit darker, I think, the cloud, and soften it a little bit because it's a little bit too still. I will probably go in there and soften it with some white and stuff, and all I have to do is wet it. Basically, when you're using gouache, I'll take some color. I'll just show you real quickly. I still have 2 3 minutes. So what I could do is just wet it, and I wisp it. I take in color and I wisp it on there, and I just make it soft. You take a damp brush, not too wet, and you just dampen it. And then with gouache, you can soften it by just wisping it. With a damp brush, you still need some pigment on it, just very light pigment, and then you just wisp it across the page, barely touching the paper, like you're tickling it with a little bit of color. And like I said, this is not gouache. This is my watercolor, but I used it like gouache. I used it thick and I used it opaque. And so it's gouache, but not the stuff that you buy. People think you have to buy gouache. Well, watercolor when you make it thick is gouache. It's opaque watercolor then, right? So you don't need to buy special gouache. I mean, you can use the watercolor as gouache if you have colors that are white or add white to it. All right. I think that's I'm just softening that area. Now I'm overdoing it now. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. And hopefully it's not supposed to rain. It's supposed to rain next 2 days, but it seems like it always gets really sunny really quickly here in Florida if it does rain. And it was thunderstorming, but that's okay. All right, guys. We'll see you on Thursday, matter of fact, because on Thursday I have to write my newsletter. Let's see what this is Sunday. Oh, I got to write my newsletter tomorrow. So it's probably going to be a very, very short newsletter tomorrow. I still have to do that. All right. We'll see.